Hello everyone and welcome back to Nate the Hoof Guy. Today's video we have got a cow that's got ulcers on both back feet. So let's get started and get her fixed up. So the natural question is what makes an ulcer form? So what I'm going to try to do is take you from a healthy foot and try to walk you through the progressions till we get to something like this. So a cow's normal growth on a foot, so let's say we trim it and it's perfect, right? We got this foot exactly how we want it and we let her go. Over time, what happens is the majority of a cow's, the weight is going to be carried toward the back half of the foot, toward the heel of the foot. So we're going to end up having more wear in that area as this cow's hoof grows. What that ends up happening then is we have, over time, an elongation of the foot and a thickening toward the toe. So we have more, when we trim them, we're removing most of the material on a maintenance trim is coming off toward the toe section, shortening the toe and thinning down the sole of the foot at the toe. What happens though, when that happens, if that goes on too long and that foot becomes elongated, we end up creating a poor foot angle. And what that does is puts too much pressure right in this particular spot in the foot because of the way the bones in the foot align. And if we have, not, the foot is designed to be able to withstand that though. It's got mechanisms built into it that allow that to happen without causing corium damage. With the deep flexor tendon, with the lamina, they hold that pedal bone in place so it can't move. So that's not always a problem. But what happens then, let's say we get some type of metabolic change. Maybe the cow is getting ready to calve, or something happens with the ration, or she becomes ill, something like that. What happens then is we can get some loosening in those laminar connections, what holds that pedal bone in place, and it allows that pedal bone to move downward. It's that downward movement that pinches the corium, and we get that pinching, and that pinching over time and time again, and it causes hemorrhaging, and it causes a poor quality horn in that area. And as that trauma continues, it eventually will create a hole right in the sole of the foot, and that's what we're dealing with here. Now typically that hole is not going to clean up, or is not going to heal up until we get it all cleaned away and allow that to be exposed, get that corium to heal because it's damaged, get that corium to heal, and then produce new horn. Now you might be looking at this foot and saying, well, she's got nice thick heels, it looks like she's got good foot angle, so that doesn't really make sense. But what happens is what we're looking at now is a reaction to all those things that had been happening. When she starts to feel that initial trauma, what she's going to do is change the way she walks. Much like the way if we were to get a small stone in our shoe and say we couldn't get it out, we would change the way we walk so that we didn't create pain. And what a cow does when she's got this outside claw, she's got some trauma going on in there, she toes out, meaning she's going to turn her foot so that more weight is positioned on that medial claw, that inside claw. And that's going to take the pressure off of that medial claw. And what happens then is she's going to end up having more wear toward the toe and less toward the heel. And that's going to create a thickening in that heel. Now, over time, that'll only work so long. And then over time, it's going to catch up with them if this ulcer does not get taken care of. And that's where we're at now. She's beginning to favor this foot heavily now because she can't get the weight off anymore. And it's protruding now. It's causing a lot of damage. We have openness to the outside. And that's why we need to address this and get it fixed. I'm using the scalpel here just to thin down the margins of this ulcer from the backside. If I try to lift up underneath an ulcer like I normally would with loose horn, I'm going to end up damaging new corium that's underneath that, and I don't want to do that. So what I'm doing is working on from the backside, thinning this as thin as I possibly can right up against that lesion. That way we don't have any irritation being caused to that openness. Hopefully we can get that to heal a lot faster that way. Here I'm just notching a pathway toward the inside of the foot so we don't get any debris and stuff packed in here once once the wraps and stuff come off of this foot. Here you can get a good close-up of that lesion. My GoPro started acting up during this trim at several different points in that, so I did not get the footage of putting the block on. I did end up wrapping this with salicylic acid. You've seen all of that before many times, so didn't miss a lot there. This next foot, same thing. I had some issues with the camera here. I'm going to take you through different steps of this that I shot with my other camera, but you can see as we pick this foot up that we got some what appears to be separation toward the top, likely the same type of ulcer situation underneath here. So we're going to get started on this one, and I'll take you to after the first little bit of trimming. Looking at the different layers of hoof is a great timeline in the history of this cow. You can see at this point now, we've got a lot of hemorrhaging in this claw, throughout the claw, not just located in that pedal bone area, that typical sole ulcer site, but throughout the claw. This was likely the onset of whatever triggered that initial trauma, that initial pedal bone to drop, happened during this time. And you can see how it's modeled throughout. As we work further in, we're getting closer to real time. So this is that next trim now, further on in this trim. I've removed more of that sole ulcer site, and you can see we have less, as we go in, less hemorrhaging throughout the claw, but more concentrated now toward that pedal bone, or that typical sole ulcer site from that pedal bone. And we got the very early beginnings of an ulcer here. So luckily we caught this foot in time. Likely what happened was that other claw ulcered first, then this claw ended up taking on more weight as she favored that other one more, and this one began experiencing more trauma as well because of it. So we got the same stages happening with this foot as it likely happened with the other one, just further behind. This ended up not being total separation here, but over time it would have. So we got that too just in time. So I'm going to block this foot as well. She's got some foot rot going on as well in between the toe, a little bit of foul in there. So I'm going to treat that and wrap that up with some salicylic acid, not so much for the ulcer, but for the foot rot that's going on, the foul inside the foot. I get that wrapped up, send her on her way, and we'll see how she's walking. Blocks really are lifesavers. She's walking better already. Next time, guys, we're bringing 67, 68 back into the chute. Remember her? She had a complete sole removal, really bad white line, or so we thought. Well, there was more than met the eye with this trim. So we're going to go through that next trim with her, as well as the subsequent follow-up after that, and you're not going to want to miss that. So hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and you will be notified when I release that video. Thanks, guys. See you on the next one.